Hello, snobby people, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Tori, and thank you once again for returning this week. The videos are once again going to be a little off schedule for the next week or so, just because there's hurricanes happening, and my neurodivergence is neurodivergenting, and I wasn't going to do this video, but then I finished the notes last night and decided to film it. Today we're going to be talking about the trending cooking show Culinary Class Wars. I had no intention of doing this video, but then I watched the show all the way through to the end, and I was like, I feel like yapping about it. So, I'm here today with you to yap. So, yap with me along in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video with your friends. Today, we're going to be talking about Culinary Class Wars. If you do not know what Culinary Class Wars is, that means that you are not on the Korean side of the internet, or it's not popping up on your Netflix. Culinary Class Wars, or 흑백요리사 요리 계급 전쟁, is a South Korean cooking reality competition show that started broadcasting on Netflix. It's a cooking contest with the same dynamic as Physical 100. The show features 100 elite chefs divided into two classes: white spoons, who are celebrity chefs, Michelin star chefs, chefs from different countries who have accolades and all of that, and then black spoons, who are non-celebrity chefs. These are chefs that have popular restaurants. They are sometimes YouTubers. They have really good internet presence, and they're all fighting for a prize of 300 million won, which is $223,000. And so it's a really good show. I could tell by the first episode that they had shot this with like, ooh, it's Physical 100 but cooking this time, because like they just kind of put everybody in this big room and people get to fill each other out. And so you have 80 black spoon chefs and 20 white spoon chefs, and now the first mission is a black spoon elimination round where there's only 20 black spoon spots, and the black spoons have 100 minutes to cook a signature dish to have our star celebrity chef judges judge them on it. There are two judges. One is baek. If you don't know who baek is, once again, you don't watch cooking content in Korea. He is one of the most successful food entrepreneurs in the country. The second is An Sung-jae. I didn't know of him until this show. He's the only Korean chef with 3 Michelin stars and is the highest ranking chef on the entire show. So of course these two people are the judges, and even the contestants are like, whoa, these two people are our judges, we have to do well. And so it's very interesting. I guess if you live in America, this is kind of reminiscent of Iron Chef or a lot of the cooking shows that were on Food Network, but I feel like it's a much bigger scale because Netflix has more money. So the production went for a chef who does fine dining, which is An Sung-jae, and then you have one who is approved by the general population, which is baek. And so I thought this was a great first competition. And when you see, they break the chefs up into 40-40, and so there's 2 rounds of the chefs. They get 100 minutes, and as soon as their food is done, all you have to do is ring the bell, and the judges come up and they just test their food. Their setup is crazy, but it's well configured. I thought this was a great first competition because it gives the chefs the freedom to showcase what they're good at. They did pump up the dramatics by having the white spoon chef, the celebrity chefs that have already been chosen, on like a railing on the perimeter of the room. So those chefs were watching the black spoon chefs cook the entire time. And there's this thing in like when you're like talking Korean or like think about Korean society on a fundamental level called we are. So we is like people who are noble and people who are, you know, ranked higher in society looking down at people who are lower than them. And so they have that kind of dynamic, which kind of like pumps up the dramatics and brings tension into the room, which is good. Because like one of the things is that if you watch Western reality television, it can get real ghetto sometimes, and I mean that in a way that it's just like the production is doing everything in their power to make the cast members like fight and argue for viral moments, which I understand, but of course it can get really abusive sometimes. Most Korean variety shows don't do that. Some of the ones on a lesser production level do get kind of unfiltered, which I think is fun to watch, because I feel like sometimes you can watch Korean variety shows, especially if you watch Physical Baek the second season, the contestants are kind of hyper aware that they're on a reality television show, so their images are kind of like really crafted. I still thought this was good dramatics without pushing it over the edge. So I thought this was a lot for 2 judges to do, though, to taste 40 dishes or 80 dishes, because if a judge comes up to a dish and they don't know if they should eliminate this person or let them pass, they'll put them on hold and then they call the other judge to come and taste their food. And if you listen to Baek Sung-won and An Sung-jae on his channel talk about eating all that food, like it was hard for them to do. But of course, in the Netflix Korean variety show type of way, the editing does a really good job of focusing on people who you think is going to pass the first round. But nope, a lot of people that they focus on like in the first 15 to 20 minutes of like the first episode, you're just like, whoa, this person's doing really cool cooking technique. And the chef comes up and eats their food, they're like, you're eliminated. You're just like, whoa. So you get to like see a lot of the contestants, see the breadth. You have people who do French food, Italian food, Korean, Japanese. There's people who, people who are Korean American who've come on the show. It's like a lot. And if you're someone like me who's been watching Korean media for like 10 plus years, some of these faces are very familiar. I've seen them in other cooking shows, but a lot of them I didn't know, which was one of my favorite parts of this. When I was watching Fiscal 102, I had seen so many of the people on like their own content or different shows that I was like, oh wow, it's that person. So if you're not as tapped into Korean media, I feel like this show was definitely much more exciting to watch, which was great. So, but you also learn like that some of the white chefs have students in the black chefs that are competing, or there's people that they worked with, and even An Sung-jae, some of his former colleagues or former students are, people, sous chefs that he's worked with are also black spoons, which is like kind of crazy to watch. The first 2 episodes were so entertaining though, because the show does a really good job of focusing on the food, but with enough commentary from like the white spoons and the judges that it doesn't feel overly just on cooking. Like if you're not interested in cooking, the show is boring. And so it's a very good feat of a show to make you interested in things that you're not interested in. I don't 110% love to cook, but watching other people like really be interested in their craft is really, really fun. My top 3 moments from this show. So one of the popular things that gets talked about on like Korean like social media, and if you watch like Korean content creators, there's a older Korean woman who's like ran a restaurant for like 100 years or whatever. Not a restaurant, her family had owned a restaurant for like 100 years, and she serves him Korean food, but she doesn't put rice with it, so it's salty, and he eliminates her. He explained his reasoning when he guest starred on Baek Sung-won's YouTube channel, but it was just, I was like, it was kind of gag worthy, because people were like, oh, that is like one of the first looks into Chef An, where you're like, oh, this man is very critical, and it doesn't matter if he knows some of the people that are cooking. He's going to be very fair in his judging of their food, right? And then second, like greatest moments and like the funniest things is watching Cooking Maniac cook. Cooking Maniac is the blonde chef. The commentary on him from the white chefs was funny. Chef Choi Hyun-suk was just like him doing all of these movements and things. It's like, it's cool if his food is good, it's corny if it's not. And I would have to disagree. I don't think he would look cool. He just kind of looked corny, and his arrogance kind of like in the interviews. And at first I was just really not into him. Later on in the season, I'm just like, oh, he reminds me of Anxiety from Inside Out 2. He reminds me of Anxiety from Inside Out 2, the way his face just crumples, and like he cannot hide his like anxiousness or nervousness or happiness or sadness or anger on his face while he's in the show. And whoever the casting director that picked him to be on the show knew what they were doing. The most funniest thing that has probably been everywhere, the animated shorts, the SNL and gag concert skits, is the Bimmy King. When I saw this man in the first episode, and he's just like has on an entire like Korean king garment, I'm like, this could either be really great or really bad. And it was really bad, but it was a stroke of the variety gods. I know the casting director who came upon this person was just like, this man is going to be on the show. I don't know how far he's going to go, but he's going to get a slot on this show. And they were correct. That entire scene of him having Baek Sung-won sing and like mix the bibimbap together, and I'm just like, Baek Sung-won is just a real good trooper, because I promise you, Chef An Sung-jae had walked up to him, I don't think it would have gone the way. I don't know. Chef An Sung-jae is very nice. He seems very nice, but he's very like poignant, and when he judges and talks about food, and so I don't think he would have had the same reaction or done everything that the BB King was asking him to do. But he did the whole thing, and then the immediate, you're eliminated, it's too salty after all the singing. I bust out laughing. That was just, it was like, oh my God. And you can tell at this point in his career is a very seasoned judge and a very seasoned, like a variety personality that has seen and talked to so many humans. Like if you watch Baek Someone's Alley, where he would like go to restaurants and basically fix them, like people literally compare him to Gordon Ramsay because that's how honest he is about food and how serious he is about food. But on the other side, that he's really nice to kids and he's really like a very good jolly person. For him to just like go along with that and be nice and then just immediately eliminate that man was hilarious. So you get to watch this entire round. You get to see the first person that gets passed is the Chinese goddess, whose teacher is actually one of the white chefs. But she was the first person to get passed for her dumplings, which I don't even eat pork, but they look great. And then you get to watch these people. I was rooting for all of the women. I was rooting for, can't lie, Triple S was on my radar from the first time he showed up on my screen. Listen, I'm a sucker for a man with glasses, okay? And then the manga chef, who was just like, I learned cooking from reading manga and manhwa, and that was great. And then the cafeteria lady, she was so sweet, and just like her food was so great. And the fact that Chef An was just like, I don't know if I should pass you. I don't know if nostalgia is clouding my judgment. But the fact that she passed, that she got into the 20 spots was great. And the curry butter sauce from the Cooking Maniac. Now, one thing about that man, his personality can be odd at sometimes. His food always looks good. So then we go into the second mission, which is the Black Spoons versus White Spoons. It's a 1v1 mission. The Black Spoons get to challenge a White Spoon chef. Then they both pick an unknown ingredient that's like hidden in these refrigerators. And it was fun to, watch the Black Spoons be like, I'm gonna take this chef down. And, the White Spoons underestimating the Black Spoon chefs. And it's all kind of funny that they all pick chefs that are kind of like similar to them and like either how they look or what they cook, which is like really fun. And so unfortunately, this challenge had a downside to it because the judges are blindfolded and they're not told what chef is cooked these dishes. And you're gonna ask me, Tori, how are they eating the food? Somebody is spoon feeding them, and and the editing, like every other shot, is them a close-up of these grown men being spoon-fed food. And I'm just sitting here like, I cannot give my full attention to this. So I had to put on my multitasking hat and just have it kind of like in the background. They vote without talking to each other after they've tasted each dish. And if their thoughts align, then the person that wins gets to go into the next round. The person that loses has to leave their name tag and is eliminated. And if their thoughts are different, then they get to take off the blindfold, see who the chefs are, the dish, and discuss until they reach further agreement. It's so for like an hour and 30 minutes, you're just watching men being spoon-fed, and it's just, I don't know why it's cringy and why it's hard to watch, but it is. It's just like, I can't, won't, and refuse to fully be engaged with this. I do have to give it up to the production team for being intentional with changing the spots of the white and black spoon judges every few rounds, so the judges who are judging them cannot tell what chef is what, which is very intentional of them, which is very cool. They had a forethought and fairness for that aspect. The top moments for this episode, I don't really have the top moments. It was nice to watch the contestants I like win. The cafeteria lady, Omakase Imu, most of the women, the manga chef, of course, the self-taught chef, who was also really cool. I think the one that I watched thoroughly was the one with Chef Choi Hyun-suk and 123. Chef Choi Hyun-suk was on Please Take Care of My Refrigerator. And so if you've been a K-content fan as long as I have, you've seen how like flamboyant and kind of cocky he can be. And so because of his flamboyance and cockiness and his understanding of the business, he kind of turns into the villain of this season. So I did want to kind of see if he was going to fail. I don't dislike him, but it was just interesting to watch him on the show. Maybe I dislike him. I don't know. Maybe I'm lying to myself. Also, listening to the judges argue was funny. Baek Sung-won and Chef An talk about on this YouTube video that this was the episode where they got closer. they began to understand each other more after this episode because they had to talk and discuss and figure out which contestants they were going to approve and which they weren't. Also, Cooking Maniac's reactions to everything. Like I said, he reminds me of Anxiety from Inside Out 2, and the memes and short videos of him during this episode are always on my TikTok feed, and it's so funny. Next, we have Mission 3. So this is where we're finally at a team mission. It's Team Black Spoons versus Team White Spoons. There are 98 citizen judges. There are, plus our 2 chef judges, so that's 100 people, and the team has to cook and prepare 100 dishes. Each group has two teams, a meat team and a seafood team. The winner of each protein will be safe from elimination, while the others will have to go onto an elimination round. And this is where like the drama begins. Now, both the White Spoons and the Black Spoons group win 1-1. The White Spoons seafood team and the Black Spoons meat team. Each of the losing teams suffer from the same predicament, which is an ancient and non-firm leaders. So the White Spoons meat team has a lot of issues with them all being like head chefs because they're all celebrity chefs. They haven't had the role of like a sous chef or a helper or a cook in like years. But a lot of it also stems from their leader not being firm in their decision making. Everybody's kind of running around doing their own thing instead of communicating with each other and trying to figure out what's the best way to tackle this competition. They had really bad communication skills, which did result in them losing, while the Black Spoons meat team had a great leader who was Triple S. He did very great, who was unwavering and like talking and communicating with his team and them trying to figure out which was the best way to get their dish done. The exact opposite then happens during the seafood challenge. The White Spoons seafood team sees how their meat team was. It was like, okay, we're not gonna fight. And so everybody kind of just falls in line under Chef Choi Hyun as the team leader for the White Spoon seafood team. And if you've ever seen him, like I said, he's kind of cocky in a very nerdy way. He's not really cocky in an off-putting way, I won't say. It's just like you want to see him get put down a peg. Like, you're fighting for the underdogs in most of this series. But he is a good strategist. So his team, the minute that the competition starts, he has his team go get ingredients, which then makes 123, who is the head of the Black Spoons meat team, real anxious. Their communication from that moment on forward just fell apart. So the Black Spoons seafood team did not win. But it was painful to watch both teams argue. From what I've seen on like watching The Bear and other cooking shows, that the head chef or whoever is the leader of the kitchen needs to be really firm in their decision making. And when they're not firm, it's not only because like they have big egos and they want to be bossy and bully, but a kitchen has a lot of safety hazards. So if you're not like really headstrong about what's happening in a kitchen, it can get really chaotic. Top moments for this episode was just watching the Black Spoons win their round. I like all of those team members, and seeing them work harmoniously together was great. The Black Spoons seafood team leader, Spark, was his name? Was that his name? I don't know. It was Spark or 123. I think it was Spark. His anxious spread throughout the entire team, and it was upsetting watching him ask questions instead of giving orders. So yeah. Then we have the elimination round. The chefs of the Black team seafood and White team meat are given a chance to make a comeback. The production brings them a whole convenience store and gives them 100 minutes to make a dish that will wow the judges and revive them for the next mission. This was so cool to watch because like the minute the door started raising and I was like, that's a convenience store. Oh my God, this is going to be so fun. This is one of my favorite missions to watch because convenience stores are available to everyone in South Korea. So whatever they end up cooking was definitely going to be trending online for viewers once the show aired. So watching renowned chefs cook with unexpected ingredients, that's the best part of cooking shows to me because it divides chefs who are creative and those who only rely on technical skills. And so, it was really cool to see. And most, if not all of the chefs make like a savory dish or a late night snack adjacent dish, and the only one, I think he was the only one, that thought outside of this was Mapia, or Napoli Mapia. I hadn't loved him as a contestant. He is also cocky, but he's definitely a great chef. He made a tiramisu with convenience store items. That is crazy, which was genius, and it got him a revival spot. Not only that they will be selling his creation at the convenience store that was sponsored all of the items for that episode. So honestly, great for him. And these are the times that I wish I was rich enough to fly to South Korea to taste all of the food of the people that I was rooting for on the show. That's when it sucks. So next we have mission 5, which is the restaurant mission. So the remaining contestants pick which chef they think will win who is the best team leader, and these winners get to pick teammates to run a restaurant with them. The team with the most profit at the end of the night will all survive and move on to the next round. So they get a budget, they have to make a menu of 3 items, they have to shop for the ingredients, prep, and then they're going to run a restaurant for a few hours. There are 15 contestants left, so there's 5 people per team. They have Chef Choi Hyun-suk's team, Chef Triple S's team, and then Chef Edward Lee's team. They all come up with 3 menus, 3 different concepts. Choi Hyun-suk's team has the highest prices. This is where his strategy comes in. This is why he could probably be seen. And this is why he could probably be seen as the villain of the season. He is predicting that the customers are going to come in with a lot of money, and making the most profit is the most important thing for the team. I saw a review was just like, it's sad to watch the chef that understands the concept of capitalism win versus all the people who are putting their heart and soul to it. It's like, yeah, sure, but this is a competition. Like, a successful restaurant, no matter how good the food tastes, has to turn a profit. And so he's just like, if the goal for this competition is to turn a profit, turn a profit we shall. We're going to have your restaurant that you can only see on this show in this competition. It's not going to work outside. While the other teams take a more realistic approach and price their food accordingly, which was ultimately their downfall. So the teams go shopping for all their ingredients, and just as they start to prep, they get a surprise announcement. They have to eliminate a team member, and they will all make a new team in a fourth restaurant. Now, this is where the production starts slipping, in my opinion. The contestants had already been up all night, and I know pushing the extremes of physicality and mental fatigue is like part of variety show allure, which I understand. But I think a good production does the unexpected, but then goes further. So the unexpected of having them eliminate a team member, cool. Edward Lee's team basically asked for volunteers. Triple S team also like is very apologetic, but one of the team members is like, well, I'm not doing much here, so I'll go on another team, and maybe that's a chance for me to stand out, which unfortunately it's the manga chef and the self-taught chef, and then it's a really popular chef from Chef Hong Suk's team, who is a Blue House chef. Chef Choi's team kind of like vote in secret and don't talk about it, and he kind of avoids like being a leader in that moment, which was kind of like to watch. But they vote him out, and he has to go to that team, and so then the three of them have to start over from scratch, which is fine. I think the production should have gone farther. They should have at least given the people who only had 3 people on their team an advantage, especially if you're going to, make them start from scratch. They should have told them who their clientele was or how much money their clientele was going to have to give them a fighting chance. I thought this was very overlooked in production. And some people would talk about, well, fair. Well, it's like if you're going to make them start from scratch, it's already unfair. So you gave them the unfairness of being socially ostracized from their teams or whatever. Let them have an advantage. I thought that was a misstep in the production side. Yeah, and it seems kind of cruel when you hear any of you watching the contestants talk about this mission. They're like, it was hard. We had to stay up all night to prep for all of this food, and then it's just like, it's crazy. The customers turn out being big food content creators, mainly mukbangers. They have a budget of like $1,000 or something like that and can order for like 4 hours straight. It was great to see so many familiar faces. I love Enjoy couple. Lala and Mintu are like one of my favorite YouTubers to watch. Lee Juku was on this, Hennim was on this, Hip-Hop was on this. It was just like a lot of Hip-Hop scene. So the judges watched the contestants the entire time on the restaurant, and so my favorite moments for this was cool to see Edward realize that he had been given the wrong piece of meat, and so he recooks it, and so what was now tough meat is now edible meat. Chef Jung Ji-sun, who's the dumpling goddess, checked the leftovers, and so that was really cool. She's the dumpling queen, and she checks the leftovers to see how her customers are feeling about the food. And if you've watched Baek Dong-won do on any of the other shows, he does this all of the time. He looks at leftovers and he clocks that immediately when she does it. It's a sign of a really great chef to go look at what your customers have left over to decide what to do next. So Chef Choi Hyun-suk's strategy works out for his team, and they walk away with first place with the most profit. The remaining contestants are chosen by the judges to move to the next round. The favorite part of this episode was watching the foodies eat in their commentary, which was the best in some of the entire show. My critiques of the production company do start here, but we'll finish that towards the end. Next, we have the Cook Your Life. This is the first challenge to pick the first finalist. In this mission, chefs are to cook the dish that made them want to be a chef. We get to hear some really great stories and see some fantastic cooking. Chef Mafia wins this round, and he's the first contestant to be a finalist. This was the most underwhelming of the entire show. I know the production has to include a human factor to get viewers to empathize and, become fans of the contestants. But after the grandness of the restaurant mission, it just felt really late in the game to do something so simple. And it seems odd for them not to have a constraint on the chefs like an ingredient or different judges or a different judging technique, because they just did points. Something that would have spiced it up a little bit. But watching Choi Hyun-suk cook alioli and then he forgot garlic was funny to watch as a behind the scenes thing. Next, we have the endless cooking challenge. This was insane. So this is to pick the next finalist, right? The remaining chefs must go head to head in an endless cooking battle. Every 30 minutes, they have to make a new dish using tofu until the last one survives. This was a cruel mission, but well thought out in its dramatics, and it's what I expect from this show. This was insane to watch, because the idea of me finishing any cooking in 30 minutes, baby, I have to have drank some juice. I have to have been blessed by the gods. Cooking a meal in 30 minutes, that fast, and that it has to be creative enough to get you to the next round. It was great to see the chefs putting all of their cooking prowess to the test. All of the dishes seemed delicious, and they cooked for 4 hours straight with no break. Watching Edward Lee cook was the best part of this challenge, and this is where I knew he was going to be the next finalist. The way that man looks at foods and looks how foods can be combined and looks at ingredients is just otherworldly. It's genius. He does this one dish where he smokes the tofu with lavender, and I was like, you can smoke tofu? Like, I know tofu is used in vegan and vegetarian foods as a substitute for meat, but I was like, Jesus Christ, I will never get on that level of cooking. My God, it's amazing to watch. And he rightfully won. It was him against Triple S, and my heart was going for Triple S, but Edward deserved to win because he ended it with a dessert. He ended it, his last dish as a dessert, and it's just like, this man, even though he is exhausted, did his damn thing. He deserved that. It was great. And so he gets the second finalist spot, and it's him against Mafia. And then we have the last mission, and Mafia finally gets to drop his nickname. We get to learn his full name, which is Chef Kwon Sung Jun. The only requirement is to make a dish while putting your name on the line. The judges must have agree on the winner of the round. If they don't agree, the chefs have to cook again. If their opinions are different, yes. So which is just another retention of the 1 versus 1 challenge where it was the same criteria. So Mafia makes pasta, Edward makes a dessert, tteokbokki, and Mafia wins. It was the most anticlimactic finale of a competition show that I've seen in a while. And I watched Physical 2 earlier this year, or last year, whenever that came out. This is the production's fault, and this is why a lot of people have critiques for the show. They hung all of their eggs in one basket of the judges disagreeing on the first round. They couldn't have predicted that Edward would put a dessert up against a main dish, which is never a safe bet, but it did cost him the finale. But it feels just so meh in comparison to the mission right before this. An endless cooking tofu challenge? Why wasn't that the finale? It feels like they had thought of the really big challenges, and then the challenges in between, they only kind of thought of secondhandly. So here are my thoughts and reviews and my wrap up of the show. Netflix Korean variety shows always somehow have us in the first half. The same thing happened for Physical 100. Same thing happened for Physical 102. Same thing's happening for Culinary Class Wars. And I imagine because Culinary Class Wars got this popular, they're going to give us more of these shows where there's like 100 contestants doing something. And you know what? I thought based on the editing that the same production team for Physical 100 had done Culinary Class Wars, but it's 2 different studios. It's 2 different production teams. This has become Netflix's Korean variety show setup. And someone said they should give us Idol 100. Made me shiver in my boots, shiver me timbers. What do you mean? What could they possibly make them do? I don't even know what that entails. Though I would not be against them doing like a makeup 100 show or fashion 100 show. I see the potential in this kind of content, but don't do an Idol show. By the love of God, please don't. We have enough of those already. So the show consisted of 100 contestants, 180 days of pre-production, 254 dishes, 300 plus cameras, 500 plus frying pans and pots, and 3,360 meters squared of sets. So there was a lot going into the show. Netflix has the money for it. But once again, similar to Physical 100, Culinary Wars is very good with coming up with missions, but the finale was always lackluster. The finale for Physical 102 was 2 dudes pushing a log. And like, the finales are always boring in comparison to the greatness of other challenges, and it makes me think that they don't know how to do or create a 1 versus 1 challenge that is as exciting as the team challenges that they come up with. So the fault in Culinary Wars, in my opinion, the first seat for the finale should have not been such an easy mission, which is why a lot of people are critiquing the show, because it feels like Mafia got his seat relatively easy because it was just a point system, while Edward had to cook 4 hours straight, come up with a new dish every 30 minutes to get that seat. Now, if Mafia had done something more exceptional of a challenge that kind of like made him like top of the contestants at that point, I don't think people would be so upset with him winning the entire show. But once again, I think him winning the entire show and people being upset falls on the production more than it does the contestant itself. The final mission should have never relied on the possibility of one dish. By making the rule that the judges have to agree on one dish shows a lack of creativity, because they already had a judging style similar to that, which was the 1v1 black spoons versus white spoons, and it literally gives the chef only one chance to win the final battle. The finale should have been something much more higher stakes, like they should have done the endless tofu challenge for the finale, or they should have had a requirement, like a 3 to 5 course meal that the judges have to agree on. That way you see the breadth of the chef that is cooking and not relying just on one final dish to choose the winner. It kind of feels like the effort that they put earlier in the show was all for naught at the end. They also could have had the contestants pick the ingredients for the other chef to cook with. Look how dramatic that would have been. Look how much more entertaining that would have been. If I was in this meeting for talking about the finale, I would have fought tooth and nail to not have the finale be what it was. It feels very lackluster and kind of lazy on the production's half. Yeah, the fact that they wanted the chefs to stake everything on one dish was kind of ludicrous in the grand scheme of things, and they could have gotten much more television with a much more better final challenge. They should not have ever thought of the possibility of it all possibly ending on one dish, and relying on the fact that Baek Jong and Chef An have different criteria in taste in food. You shouldn't rely on that, because in the worst possible circumstance, it could all end in one dish, and it did. It kind of ruins the journey of the show. Like, sometimes some people are there for the journey and not the ending. I am a person who wants my journey to be worth the ending, and my journey did not feel worth the ending for the show. So that being said, I still did enjoy the show. The journey was good. It was so cool to learn about these different chefs. It was so cool to see how them put their heart into this cooking. And some of the challenges were really great. The convenience store challenge was great. The endless tofu challenge, though grueling, was cool to watch. And though it's different from most cooking shows, but the same at the very same time. Unfortunately, one of the female contestants, Chef Seok Longest is the name of her channel. She was on the White Spoon's meat team. She has been receiving extreme hate and misogyny online for having like a foreign husband. Whatever, it's Korean rooted misogyny, and so please go share some love if you ever come across her videos or channel. The restaurants of the contestants, well, from what I've seen and heard, are already booming after the show's success. It rated #1 on Netflix at one point. It's trending all over Korean social media. SNL has done skits, Gag Concert's done skits. I see clips of it all the time. The self-taught chef and Chef Maniac are going to be mentors on Baek Jong-won's new E&A cooking show. And if you watch any of the content online of the 10 chefs that like made it to the finale or the semifinals, they all kind of seem close. Baek Jong-won even talked about how chefs have been having a really bad image for some time in South Korea because of some like scandals that are happening, and this competition kind of turned it around. I definitely look forward to what other variety shows will come out of South Korea through Netflix. Netflix has the privilege of having a huge budget that some of the broadcast channels cannot afford, and they've been doing a good job of platforming or outsourcing to variety studios for these shows, and I hope it will continue. Like Siren, I'm pretty sure was sourced through PD Na's studio, and so word on the streets that they will be the new home for the next season of Crime Scene and the Mystery Variety Girlies. Love that. And the return of Great Escape. That's just what the streets are saying. I love that for me. And I haven't finished Devil's Plan, but if you are looking for another good team-based competition show, Siren, The Island is so good. It's such a blast. And I'm actually going to rewatch it just because I've been talking about it and watching variety shows lately. So yes, I love Culinary Class Words. I give it a A+. It's still a, no, A-. It's a good show. The finale really was poops. Did not eat. But the rest of the show was good. I thought the contestants were fun. It does have, you know, heightened drama without being extremely crafted drama. Now, I do understand that some of the critiques were just like, it felt like some of the stuff was scripted. Like when they were pulling super passes or when they were passing other chefs, they were trying to make the numbers equal between black chefs and white chefs. But I think that was for the purpose for the team missions. But needless to say, I enjoyed this show. I understand why it's trending all over Korea, and I'm excited but concerned to see what other Korean variety shows Netflix will come up with next. But how did you like the show? Who was your favorite contestant? Did you like Triple X as much as I did? Everyone on my timeline seems to love Edward toward the end of the season. I think he's great. Also, I think Mafia is getting a lot of hate. We don't need to do that. He doesn't deserve hate. I understand why you think he shouldn't have won because he only cooked Italian dishes, but like, he's an Italian chef. What else is he supposed to do? Once again, that is the fault of the production team, not the fault of Mafia himself. But yes, I love this show. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. The next one was supposed to be a Pachinko video, but I think I'm going to push that off and just release a Love Next Door video next. So be on the lookout for that. But until next time, love you. Bye.